There's a moment that comes to every soul, quiet, unexpected, like the first breath after holding it too long. You're sitting somewhere ordinary, perhaps by a window as afternoon light slants through glass, and suddenly you feel it, the deep ache of all you're wanting, the weight of every prayer that seems to echo back empty, every dream that feels just beyond your fingertips. In that stillness, something shifts. You realize you've been reaching for what was never separate from you, seeking outside what was always within, begging for what you already possess. This is the moment Neville Goddard spoke of when he revealed the most profound secret ever given to humanity. Not a complex formula, not a lengthy ritual, but a single phrase so simple that most people walk right past it. A phrase that contains within its few words all the creative power that ever was or ever will be. The same phrase that spoke light into darkness, that formed worlds from nothing, that bridges the invisible realm of imagination with the solid world of form. Tonight, you're about to discover why this one phrase renders every other technique unnecessary, why it dissolves the gap between wanting and having, why it transforms you from someone who seeks miracles into someone who speaks them into existence. I'm so grateful you've joined me for this teaching. Wherever you are in the world right now, whatever time it is where you're listening, there's something beautiful about souls gathering across time and space to receive what our hearts have always known. You know the feeling, don't you? That restless energy that drives you from one manifestation method to another, always searching, always hoping this next technique will finally be the one. You've tried affirmations repeated until your voice grows hoarse, visualization so detailed you could map every corner of your desired reality, scripting pages and pages of your perfect life. You've downloaded the apps, bought the courses, followed the gurus who promised that their way, their system, their secret formula will unlock the doors that have remained stubbornly closed. And still, you find yourself here, listening to yet another voice promising yet another answer. The irony isn't lost on you. Here you are, seeking again, even as part of you wonders if you're caught in an endless loop of spiritual seeking that leads everywhere except where you actually want to go. But what if I told you that this search itself, this very hunger for the next method, the better technique, the deeper secret, what if this is actually the thing that's been keeping you from what you desire? What if the answer you've been seeking isn't hidden in complexity, but revealed in simplicity so profound that the mind, trained to make everything difficult, simply cannot accept it? God didn't give humanity a complicated system requiring years of study, perfect conditions, or special abilities. The divine gift to conscious beings was never meant to be earned or mastered through struggle. It was given freely, completely, in a form so elegant that a child could understand it, yet so powerful that it contains within itself all the creative force that shapes reality. In the beginning, before form existed, before matter condensed from pure possibility, there was a voice that spoke into the formless void. And that voice said three simple words that contained all creative power: let there be. Let there be light. Let there be earth. Let there be life. Not a request, not a hope, not a desperate plea into the darkness, but a declaration so certain, so filled with creative authority that reality had no choice but to respond. This phrase, let there be, is the divine template for all manifestation. It's the pattern that underlies every miracle, every answered prayer, every moment when the invisible becomes visible. And here's what most people miss entirely. This wasn't just what God said once, long ago, in some distant cosmic moment. This is what God says continuously, eternally, through every conscious being who understands their true nature. Neville Goddard spent his entire life revealing this truth that imagination is God in action, that when you truly imagine something, you are not pretending or fantasizing, you are creating. But imagination without the creative authority of let there be remains mere daydreaming. When you combine the divine phrase with conscious imagination, you step into the role you were always meant to play, the creator of your own experience. Think about this carefully. Every time you imagine something and feel it to be real, you are saying, let there be, to that experience. Every time you assume a state and live from it, you are speaking with the same creative force that shaped worlds. The difference between those who manifest effortlessly and those who struggle endlessly isn't in their technique. It's in their understanding of what they're actually doing when they imagine. Let there be contains 3 elements that make it the most powerful phrase ever given to humanity. First, it assumes authority, not pleading with someone else to create, but taking responsibility for creation itself. Second, it operates from certainty, not hoping something might happen, but declaring that it must happen. Third, it bridges the gap between the invisible and the visible. It's the spoken word that transforms pure imagination into solid reality. Now that you understand the creative authority contained within "Let There Be," it's time to experience what it feels like to speak as God speaks. This isn't about adopting a new affirmation or adding another technique to your collection. This is about recognizing that the same creative power that spoke worlds into existence flows through your consciousness right now, waiting for your recognition and use. The shift begins in how you approach your desires. Instead of saying, "I want to be healed," which positions healing as something separate from you, something you lack, you speak from the divine template. Let there be healing in this body. Do you feel the difference? "I want" is the language of separation, of someone standing outside looking in. "Let there be" is the language of creative authority, of someone who understands that consciousness shapes reality. When you say, "Let there be abundant provision in my life," you're not asking anyone for anything. You're not hoping that some force outside of you will decide to bless you. You're speaking from the recognition that you are the creative force, that your consciousness, united with divine imagination, has the power to call forth what you declare. This is what Neville meant when he taught that you are God pushing out into expression. The feeling tone that must accompany these words is crucial. When you say, "Let there be love flowing into my relationships," you must speak with the same quiet certainty that light has when it dissolves darkness. Not with desperation, not with doubt, not with the anxious energy of someone hoping it might work. You speak with the calm authority of someone who knows that creative law responds to consciousness, not to neediness. Practice this now, with whatever you most desire. Instead of pleading for it, instead of visualizing yourself getting it, speak to it directly. Let there be. Say it quietly, internally, with a recognition that you are using the very same creative principle that established the laws of nature. You're not trying to bend reality to your will. You're aligning your will with the creative power that is your true nature. After you speak "Let there be" with true creative authority, something profound happens that most people aren't prepared for. Silence. Not the comfortable silence of peace, but the vast, seemingly empty silence where faith is tested and doubt whispers its familiar questions. This is the sacred pause between speaking and seeing, between declaring and manifesting, between the invisible and the visible. This silence is not your enemy. It is the creative womb where your words take form. Neville called this period living in the assumption. You have spoken from divine authority. You have declared "Let there be," and now you must inhabit the consciousness of someone for whom those words have already produced their intended result. This is perhaps the most challenging aspect of conscious creation, because everything in your physical experience may still reflect the old reality while the new one gestates in the unseen. The silence feels like nothing is happening. Your bank account shows the same numbers. Your body exhibits the same symptoms. Your relationships carry the same patterns. And this is exactly when doubt comes knocking, offering what seems like reasonable evidence that your words were just words, that nothing has changed, that perhaps you were foolish to believe you could speak reality into existence. But here's what Neville understood that most people miss. The silence between your declaration and its manifestation is not emptiness, it is pregnancy. When a woman conceives, there are no visible signs for weeks, sometimes months. Yet life is forming. Cells are dividing. A miracle is taking shape in the darkness. The absence of immediate physical evidence doesn't mean conception hasn't occurred. It means the process is working exactly as it should. Your job during this sacred interval is not to keep repeating "Let there be," anxiously, wondering if it worked. Your job is to live from the consciousness that it has already worked. When you spoke those words with divine authority, creation began. Now you must trust the process enough to walk in the assumption that what you declared is already moving toward visible expression. And then it happens. The moment when the invisible crosses the threshold into visibility, when the word you spoke in consciousness clothes itself in form, when what you declared through "let there be" begins to show itself in your physical experience. It might arrive suddenly, like a door opening that was always meant to open, or gradually, like dawn breaking slowly over the horizon. But when it comes, you recognize it immediately, not as coincidence, not as luck, not as the result of external forces finally aligning in your favor, but as the natural consequence of consciousness creating reality. In that moment of recognition, something profound shifts in your understanding of who you are and what you're capable of. You realize that the phrase, "let there be," wasn't just words you spoke, it was the very power that shapes existence, working through your awareness. You begin to see that every manifestation in your life, whether you were conscious of it or not, came through this same creative principle. This understanding changes everything. You no longer see yourself as someone who hopes the universe will respond to your requests. You see yourself as the universe expressing itself through your imagination. The phrase, "let there be," reveals your true identity not as a seeker of miracles, but as the consciousness through which miracles naturally flow. The Creator and the creation were never separate. They never could be.